Good Wednesday morning and welcome back to Commentators Corner. Tyler Reedy and Brendan Preisman with you for episode number 10 on the year as we're getting into the nitty-gritty of football season, coming down to the wire with high school. Prep's got their last game of the regular season Friday night.
Against Lincoln East, and Lincoln East is a good team. We'll just dive right into it because we've got a busy day ahead of us. We've got a busy week ahead of us. Lincoln East currently number 9 in Class A. They're 6-2, 2-1 in the district. Their two losses are to Papillion South and North Platte. And the key for Prep against Lincoln East, the Spartans, is going to be stopping their senior quarterback, Noah Walters. So far on the year, 143 for 212, 2,807 yards, 38 touchdowns, just 3 interceptions for Walters. This team loves to throw the ball, 362 passing yards a game. They are a dangerous offensive team, as you can see by their scoring. They score almost 42 points a game.
Yeah, absolutely. Lincoln East offense brings really a different dynamic than anything Prep has seen, aside from maybe the first quarter of the Bellevue West game when the Thunderbirds came out passing to their big tight ends and fast wide receivers, and Prep got kind of burned. But Lincoln East, maybe the best passing team in the state. Noah Walters is certainly the best quarterback in the state as far as Class A is concerned. Got a great wide receiver as well in Cooper Erickson. He needs 26 yards on Friday night to reach 1,000 on the season, and then a couple other 500-yard receivers and a 378-yard receiver as well. So Lincoln East is loaded in the passing department, and then obviously on the other side, Prep has the 1-2 punch at running back of Marty Brown and Jack Stessman behind that young, talented offensive line. So there's going to be a lot of firepower. Could be a shootout on Friday night, maybe the best game of the year.
It definitely could be, and I think the key there is going to be turnovers. Both of these teams are pretty good at forcing turnovers, as well as keeping the ball to themselves. Lincoln East has forced 13 turnovers on the year, while only committing 7 of their own. But in their North Platte loss, they lost 41-38. Walters threw 2 picks. Those ended up being pretty crucial in what was a 3-point loss. And as we've seen all season with Prep, guys like John Pargo, Asher Anderson, they are incredible at taking the ball away. Prep's got 8 interceptions on the year. So it's going to be a game based on whether or not Prep can slow down Walters, because as you mentioned, that 1-2 punch for Prep with the running backs, that's not going to be stoppable. Lincoln East gave up, let me see if I can find it, against North Platte. That game, they gave up 441 rushing yards. So
wow,
that is certainly a danger for them, especially when you consider that Marty Brown has 150 carries for over 1,000 yards, 7 yards a pop, and 15 scores. Jack Stessman is also at 7 yards a pop, only 48 carries, 352 yards for him, but he's still seen the end zone 7 times. So dangerous running attack against dangerous passing attack, but Prep does seem to have just slightly better defense. They're only giving up 15 points a game. They've given up less than 14 4 different times. So it's going to be an interesting game to watch.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And that game will be at 7 p.m. Friday night at Berg Stadium. It is senior night for the Junior Jays, and the Birdcage team will be blackout. We will have the game live for you on Creighton Prep TV. Might be my last football game, depending on how things work out in the playoffs. I won't be in town for the first round, so could be it for me. Brendan will still be here for the playoffs, though, so see how things shake out.
It's also senior night for the broadcasters.
Yeah,
so
no kidding.
For some reason,
time flies.
You can't. Oh my goodness, yeah. That could be a whole podcast of its own, just us reminiscing about the broadcast.
That's a good thing for November.
But if for some reason you cannot make it to Berg Stadium, feel free to tune in. It's probably going to get a little emotional, but that's what makes it fun.
Yep. So speaking of emotional, we'll get to our NFL picks soon. But in between that, college football still rolling right along. Week 7 is in the books. It started off on Friday night with a pretty good game. We were watching it over at your place after the Prep game. Number 9 Oregon survives a scare against California. 24-17 they won, but they dropped down to number 10. 17th ranked Arkansas has lost 3 straight SEC games now after their hot start, falling to unranked Auburn this past week, 38-23. So Auburn jumps up to number 19. Hogs are now unranked. Unranked LSU took down Florida 49-42 in a wild game as Tyrion Davis-Price ran for 287 yards and 3 touchdowns for the Tigers.
Didn't stop Ed Orgeron from being fired.
Nope. But then Oklahoma State, Texas, another tough one for you. Yeah. Texas now out of the top 25 after The Cowboys win it 32-24.
We need two things right now. We need a defense that wants to tackle, and we need a practice that goes longer than 2 hours, because clearly the team just thinks after halftime, it's okay, that was fun. See you guys next week. But that's not how college football works. On to some games that made me happier as a college football fan. Ole Miss, Tennessee. I was watching that on Saturday night. I stayed up for a while. Tennessee almost upsets Ole Miss in a shocker, but Ole Miss hangs on 31-26, and then the Tennessee fans, expressing their displeasure with a referee's decision, start throwing stuff onto the field. So it was after a fourth down spot was ruled just short for Tennessee. Started throwing stuff onto the field. A lot of water bottles, some golf balls, even a mustard bottle.
Should we read mustard the broadcast on Friday?
I don't think we should. Okay. I have a feeling we'd get fired. But as it turned out, Tennessee got the ball back again with a chance to win, and their quarterback ended up scrambling and running out of bounds on the final play of the game. As Ole Miss coach Lane Kiffin was walking off, he got a water bottle thrown at him, and he actually managed to catch it.
And he threw his visor back at the crowd.
So that could have been our what is happening for this week. Unfortunately, we've got a much better one. Some other fun games that happened. The Purdue Boilermakers did their usual thing to the number 2 team, just dominated the previous number 2 Iowa Hawkeyes en route to a 24-7 win. Iowa falls all the way out of the top 10 after that, but that offense looking like a Big Ten offense again.
Yeah, tough times for Iowa. Cincinnati jumps up to number 2 now. How about that?
As they should. A dominant win over UCF. Yeah, 56-21. Michigan State also remains unbeaten with a 20-15 win. UTSA remains unbeaten and moves into the top 25. Congratulations to
Roadrunners.
The Roadrunners. Meep, meep. Number 1 Georgia stays number 1. Pretty dominant win over Kentucky. 13-30. Didn't really feel that close from what I could see of it. I mean, the Georgia defense is upset that they allowed 13 points. That should tell you how the season's going for them. Texas A&M continuing the hot streak from their win over Alabama with a 35-14 win over Missouri. Bama themselves beats Mississippi State 49-9. Oklahoma and new starter Caleb Williams defeat TCU 52-31. And that's basically it for last week. This week, not any ranked versus ranked games right now, but there's still going to be a lot of good ones. Wake Forest Army looks like it's going to be an interesting one. Wake Forest in the top 25 and fighting for that number 1 spot in the ACC right now. Wisconsin, Purdue. It's going to be interesting to see what Purdue can do after that Iowa victory. It's also going to be interesting to see if Wisconsin can get any semblance of an offense. Oklahoma State, Iowa State. The Cowboys of Oklahoma State, still undefeated by the skin of their teeth, now travel to Iowa State, who's been known to play spoiler in a couple games. Actually did so back in, I believe it was 08, maybe 07, but it was the year that Bama and LSU played in the national title, because Oklahoma State was number 3. The reason they were number 3 was because they lost in Ames.
Yeah, Iowa State beat Oklahoma last year. Ames, so.
Well, Iowa State was actually good last year. This year they're only 4-2.
Yeah, they can pull it off.
Oregon, UCLA could be interesting. UCLA, remember, has that win over LSU back before we knew LSU was going to be thrown into chaos this year. Oregon, number 10 in the nation, still smarting from that loss to Stanford. They've played a lot of close games in recent weeks. This one could be another one. Clemson, Pittsburgh is going to be interesting. Pittsburgh actually ahead of Clemson in both the rankings and the ACC standings. Who knew we'd hear those words this year? San Diego State Air Force is going to be probably a pretty interesting game. San Diego State, number 22. Air Force is 6-1, so don't sleep on them. And then game you're probably most looking forward to, USC Notre Dame at 6:30 p.m. on NBC this Saturday night.
Yeah, there we go. Quarterback situation is still in Jack Cohn's hands for now, so we'll see how things look against USC, who started the season as a top 15 team. And Notre Dame's schedule at the start of the year looked a lot tougher than it is now. USC's unranked. North Carolina, who the Irish play next week, they're unranked. So good chance for Notre Dame to get some quality wins over not great teams, but pretty solid teams. So we'll see how things work out there. Moving on to the NFL, I have taken a 2-game lead on you with my picks now. So
indeed you have.
Yeah, Brendan might have to make some moves here this week, starting with the Thursday night game. Cleveland hosting Denver. This is kind of a weird one because you've got both quarterbacks. Their health status is in question with Baker Mayfield and Teddy Bridgewater. Cleveland looks like they'll be without both their running backs, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. So, I mean, I guess it's just going to come down to the Browns' defense. And that offense, which I still think will be a little bit better than Denver, even without the full power of that rushing attack. I've got the Browns 24-16.
I've got the Browns 24-17. So there's the moves. You wanted moves. There we go.
All right, so Kansas City, Tennessee to start off our Sunday games. Chiefs, pretty good win over Washington, 31-30. It was bad in the first.
Pretty good second half.
Yeah, bad in the first half, but the defense came out and showed us a little something in the second half. So, chance to build on it, but it's not going to be easy against, without a doubt, the best running back in football, Derrick Henry, who is just tearing it up this season. 3 touchdowns last week against Buffalo. I've got the Chiefs, though, 31-24. I think they might be starting a little bit of a turnaround after last week.
I think you were wrong.
We'll see.
I think you were wrong.
Okay. You got Tennessee?
I do have Tennessee. I think that King Henry will run over everyone like he normally does. I think that allowing 13 to the Washington football team is not the achievement that you think it is. And I think that this is one of the best offenses at its peak that the Chiefs have faced all year. So I think that the Titans are going to take it 28-24.
All right, Green Bay hosting Washington. Speaking of the football team, Aaron Rodgers coming off a big emotional win over the Bears. He still owns them.
Yeah, I mean the franchise owner of the Chicago Bears.
He still owns them, and now he's got Washington coming to town. Should be a pretty easy win. I've got 24-13 Green Bay.
Yeah, I've got 34-20. I think it's going to be a little more high-powered than that, especially with that Packers offense, Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones, Devontae Adams. I've got the Packers 34-20. Also, real quick on the Titans, did you see that Julio Jones catch from last week?
It did. Wow.
Yeah. Imagine what he's going to do when he's playing Nathan Sorensen.
Well, he's still got a little bit of an injury problem going on. He might not be 100%.
It's Nathan Sorensen.
It's Daniel Sorensen.
Daniel Sorensen.
Put some respect on his name.
No. His own teammate, Tyrann Mathieu, throws up his hands like 3 times a game. It's just like, I'm the honey badger. I'm the best safety in the... Oh, my God, my teammate just gave up another 50.
Hey, Sorensen made some big plays in the 2019 playoffs.
Good for him.
Give him credit for that.
That was 2 years ago.
He made some mistakes this season, but it's okay.
It's not going to be okay against the Titans.
All right, Miami and Atlanta, 2 highly struggling teams. I think Tua Tagovailoa had a solid week last week. I think he'll continue into this week, and I've got Miami 27-20 over Atlanta.
I think the offense is going to be a little bit slower than that, but yeah, I do think Tua returning to form is going to be enough for the Dolphins. I've got the Dolphins 20-17.
Patriots-Jets, pretty easy one here. Zach Wilson, 4 interceptions against that Bill Belichick-led defense last time out in week 2. And, I mean, I think he'll be a little bit better, but there's no way he's beating the Patriots. 27-13 New England.
Yeah, I've got a fun field goal style game.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm starting Nick Folk in 2 leagues. Here we go.
Fun AFC East battle, but I think after this game we might actually have to start seriously talking about Mac Jones for Offensive Rookie of the Year purely based off of team record and the fact that he has nowhere close to as many interceptions as the rest of the rookie quarterbacks do. But that might be for another time. I've got the Patriots 19-13.
Yeah, I still think Jamar Chase is out ahead of him just in terms of what he's done at the receiver position this year. And speaking of Chase, his team, the Bengals, going on the road to Baltimore against the Ravens. Baltimore, red hot, coming off that 34-6 victory over the Chargers, just completely dominated in all facets of the game. And now Cincinnati, who's got a solid record, blowout win against Detroit last week. I think it'll be pretty close, but there's not going to be any doubt from the start. Baltimore's the better team. 27-21 they win.
Yeah, I think they're going to score a little bit more than that. Lamar Jackson playing like an MVP once again. He is an MVP candidate, no matter how little you want to admit it, because you are a blind fool. Oh, the quarterback has a bad passing. Yeah, guess what?
9 touchdowns, 5 interceptions.
He runs the ball better than most running backs out there, and that's why he's the MVP. It's not because he's a pure pocket passer. He doesn't need to be.
He ran for 1,000 yards last year and wasn't close to the MVP. The other guys like Brady and Prescott are so far ahead of him.
In passing efficiency, maybe. Efficiency does not always an MVP make. I've got 31-21 Baltimore, and we can argue about this over text at 12 in the morning once again later this week.
Oh, boy. All right. Panthers-Giants, shouldn't need to do any arguing about this one. Giants offense just looked lost last week. Still without Saquon Barkley, still without a lot of their receivers. Panthers.
Kadarius Toney got hurt too.
Yeah, Kadarius Toney's having some ankle problems. Panthers aren't anything crazy themselves, but I still think they're a better football team, and they'll win it 24-17.
Yeah, I've got a 10-point game as well, but it's also a victory for Carolina. I've got 28-21.
Eagles-Raiders, this one could be fun. Raiders weren't sure how they were going to come out and perform after the John Gruden situation unfolded, but they went on the road to Denver and got a nice, comfortable win. Philadelphia kept it fairly close against Tampa Bay last week. Jalen Hurts certainly still developing as a passer, but made some nice plays as a runner. I do think the Eagles will go on the road and get it done 26-24, though.
What?
Yeah.
What is wrong with you?
What's wrong with you?
Okay, first you say that Lamar's not an MVP candidate because his passing's bad. Then you're like, Jalen Hurts makes some nice plays with his legs.
I don't know.
So I think the Eagles are going to beat the Raiders in Las Vegas.
I don't know how you're in a position to say these things when you have predicted 2 worse games than I have. That's
You're a Chiefs fan.
Okay.
How's Patrick Mahomes' second in the league interceptions?
We're still in a position to make the playoffs. We'll be fine. Anyway, I have the Eagles. You clearly have the Raiders.
Yes,
so get on with it.
I do. The Raiders' defense is better than a lot of people think, and Jalen Hurts, I think, is still maybe a year away. I like him as a player a lot. I think I started him in a couple of my fantasy leagues for the past couple of weeks, but I think the Raiders' defense, I'm not sure what they were called. They didn't have a nickname like the Steel Curtain, did they? Was it the Black Hole, maybe?
That's their fan base more so.
Yeah. Well, I've got the Raiders in a fairly comfortable win. I think about 28-20.
All right. Rams-Lions, speaking of comfortable wins, not much to say here. Matthew Stafford going up against his former team, and he's in a much better place now with guys like Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods around him. Rams 34, Lions 14.
Rams 35, Lions 10. Yeah, there's not too much to say about this game. Lions, though, might set a new record for being the first franchise in NFL history to go undefeated twice.
Wow. Goodness gracious.
I mean, they did it in, what was it, 08?
Yeah, not long ago.
Yeah.
And they're certainly in a position to do it again.
I think that was the year they got Stafford from.
Oh, gosh.
That was the draft they picked him up that next year.
Wow, so now they lose him and are in that same spot once again. Funny how things work out. Cardinals Texans, another similar game just in terms of being very easy to predict. Arizona feeling great after a blowout win in Cleveland. Kyler Murray is playing like an MVP candidate. 31-13, Arizona.
Yeah. You don't think Davis Mills can outdo Kyler Murray and show you a little something?
I don't know.
Yeah, I've got Cardinals 27-7. The Cardinals are one of those teams that, like, you transport a college football fan from, like, 2-3 years ago into now, and you're like, hey, look at this team. He's like, oh, that team's awesome. Because it is. Kyler Murray, Rondale Moore, DeAndre Hopkins. Picked up Zach Ertz in a trade with the Eagles last week, and Ertz is nowhere near what he once was, but he could still be a solid contributor. And then on defense, Cardinals still a pretty good. Buda Baker, J.J. Watt. They're going to dominate the Texans.
Well, all I'm going to say here is thank goodness for that Eagles-Raiders game because the other 3 games in the late window are
bad,
looking like blowouts. Tampa Bay and Chicago is the last one down at Raymond James Stadium. Buccaneers 34, Bears 17. Tom Brady just too good right now.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit closer than people think. I do think Justin Fields is coming along nicely in that Bears offense. It's not going to be enough to beat the defending world champs, though. I've got Buccaneers 28-20.
All right. Colts 49ers, this is an interesting choice for Sunday Night Football. Indianapolis.
It's bad.
Yeah, Indianapolis.
I was checking the ESPN app, and I think it was like the lowest tickets. It's like tickets as low as $45. Yeah. Like, this is the primetime game?
Yeah,
really?
So Indianapolis trying to dig themselves out. They've picked up back-to-back wins over Miami and Houston. Not great competition, but something to build on. San Francisco trying to get healthy, but I think Indianapolis will go on the road, get it done, 24-20.
I have the score 24-20.
But the other way.
I do indeed,
so
yes.
It's 4 games.
I think Jimmy Garoppolo has a pretty good receiving core, plus the 49ers are coming off of a bye week last week, so that will give them a chance to get a lot healthier. So I think they can pull it off 24-20. I also think that we might see some Sam Ellinger action in this game because you know that Carson Wentz is built like a paper airplane, so Actually, paper airplane's not the right word. Those are normally pretty sturdy.
Not if I'm building them.
Yeah. He's built like a house of cards.
Right.
I'll say that. So we might see some Sam Ellinger action after Wentz is crushed between two defensive linemen and has to leave the game in the third quarter. So that's going to be fun.
Primetime games are full of quarterbacks not being healthy. The 49ers have Jimmy Garoppolo trying to come back from injury. And now the Seahawks game, obviously Russell Wilson's out. So you've got Geno Smith as they host the Saints. And I think New Orleans will go on the road and get it done 23-17.
I forgot that Geno Smith was playing. Originally, my prediction, I had Russell Wilson is better than Jameis Winston. But now I have realized the error of my ways. I'm going to go with Saints 24-17.
All right, so differing in 4 games. So at best, I can take a 6-game lead on you. At worst, you can flip things around and take a 2-game lead on me. We'll see how things shake out.
Or
a lot of teams on the bye.
Again.
Yeah, could be that as well. NFL Week 7 it is now. How about that? So.
Jeez, we're going to have to start making our MVP picks pretty soon. Probably around week 9, I'd say, because that'd be about the halfway point.
Yeah, right around the trade deadline. Yeah. So, NBA tipped things off last night with 2 games. Milwaukee hosted Brooklyn. Defending champions rolled 127-104. They got off to a great start in that game, scoring 37 in the first quarter. Giannis Antetokounmpo was Giannis Antetokounmpo, MVP candidate, put up 32 points, 14 rebounds. He was just a beast in the paint, and there was only so much Kevin Durant and James Harden could do. They need Kyrie back as soon as they can because Milwaukee's going to be tough as Giannis is able to keep playing like this.
Mm-hmm. So defending world champions looked good. 2 years ago, champions looked okay, but they're definitely facing some problems. LeBron James, in his 19th year in the NBA, looked as good as ever. 34 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists in 37 minutes. He played well. Steph Curry didn't have a great shooting night. He went 5 of 21 from the field, but did have 21 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists, so a triple-double for him. And the Lakers, one thing I worried about over the offseason was whether Russell Westbrook would be a Gary Payton and Karl Malone style addition, because both of those guys were former greats who came to the Lakers in the hopes of getting a ring with a dynasty and ended up being not so good because, they were old and not very good at basketball. And this first game for Westbrook was not very promising. 4 of 13 from the field, 0 of 4 from beyond the arc, 4 turnovers to 4 assists, just 8 points, and a minus 23 plus minus.
Wow.
He's struggled, and the Lakers are going to have to figure that out, especially considering that lineup that they run, at least the lineup that they ran to start this game, was Westbrook, LeBron, Anthony Davis. Davis also played well, had 33 points, 11 rebounds. Kent Bazemore and DeAndre Jordan. The best shooter on that list might be LeBron James, and he's a career about 32% guy, so that's not what you want to see if you're the Lakers, especially in a league where three-point shooting is so key, as Jordan Poole showed. 25 minutes, 8 for 18 from the field, 4 of 11 from 3, 20 points. So Warriors probably going to be a nice contender this year. I'm excited to see how that team shakes out.
Yep, should be interesting. We got some games coming up tonight on ESPN. The Celtics take on the Knicks, a couple potential fringe playoff teams trying to get back there. Knicks made it last year. Celtics did as well, but both were out pretty quickly, so keep an eye on that one. And then the Nuggets and the Sun. That's a great matchup out on the West Coast, or close to it. 9 p.m. on ESPN, so doubleheader action, second night in a row, and then we'll get geared up for Thursday Night Football the night after that. And all throughout, we've got Major League Baseball as well. The Championship Series are rolling along right now. The Braves and Dodgers. Dodgers got a game back on the Braves, who took a 2-0 series lead after a couple of walk-offs in Atlanta over the weekend. Dodgers overcame a 5-2 lead on a 3-run home run by Cody Bellinger and were able to win it 6-5. So that series now 2-1 in favor of Atlanta. Houston and Boston are now even up at 2. Astros, after trailing 2-0 through 7 innings last night, managed to score 8 runs in the final 2 innings of the game, and it ended up being a blowout, 9-2 the final score. So a lot going on in the world of sports.
Yeah, Red Sox.
Fun times.
Yeah, Red Sox fans extraordinarily unhappy about a ball that they believe should have been called a strike that wound up letting the Astros stay in the game, stay at bat, and end up getting 7 runs in the 9th inning and made that game a blowout. That tied the series, and Red Sox fans might look back on that saying, did we get screwed?
Yeah. We'll see. We already saw it happen in the Giants.
So that happened, and now it's time to get to everyone's favorite segment. What is happening? And the answer is NBA basketball. And with that NBA basketball, as always, comes a heaping helping of drama. You may remember the Ben Simmons talk we went through a couple podcasts ago. I'm not sure how long ago that was, but in it we got to detail the basic situation. Simmons appeared to one out. Young player who's very good, but cannot shoot the ball very well, or at all. That's bad. He's also making a lot of money, and neither his coach nor his co-star seem to really enjoy having him on the team anymore. Well, now there's some updates to that situation. So he returned to Philadelphia last week. I believe I mentioned that in the podcast, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and was going to practice. 2 days ago, video came out of him practicing with his phone in his pocket. And as a basketball player myself, I know that if your phone is in your pocket, you are definitely not going all out. Because if you're going all out,
your phone's going to fall out.
It's not safe for your phone to be in your pocket. Like, I would take my phone out if I were actually going to a basketball practice, so it didn't fall out. And he just seemed kind of disinterested. He seemed kind of like you watching the first half of that Chiefs game, just, I don't want to be here. This isn't fun for me. Stuff like that. But, he stayed. Well, yesterday it broke while I was in my biology class. No, it was my AP Gov class. I was taking a test. I decided to open Twitter after the game, and people are talking about Ben Simmons. Well, what happened? Turned out he got kicked out of practice. The coach asked him to get in a defensive drill. He said no. Coach asked him again. He said no again. The coach was like, all right, go home.
Oh, my gosh.
So he got kicked out of practice. He has been suspended for the 76ers opening game, which is tomorrow night against the Pelicans. And he has also been fined. So Ben Simmons clearly doesn't want to be in Philadelphia. Philadelphia clearly doesn't want to be involved with Ben Simmons. The issue is nobody else does either. At this point, his trade value has tanked. I mean, maybe the Lakers, after that Russell Westbrook poor showing last night, maybe they're saying, hey, you guys want Russell Westbrook for Ben Simmons? That's about the best we can give you all. But it's a really tough situation for everyone, and there's a lot of blame going around for basically every party in this situation. Some of it warranted, a lot of it not. For instance, I don't think it's fair to say that this is entirely on the Sixers, but I also don't think this is entirely on Ben Simmons. He is what he is, and he's not going to change that, but the fact that he appears uninterested to even change that shows why he and the Sixers are not a good fit, because Joel Embiid, as we mentioned last week in our NBA preview, 28 points, 11 rebounds last year, second in the MVP voting. He said in a press conference after that practice, he doesn't really care about Ben Simmons anymore. Like, it's not his job to babysit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not. His job is to try and get the city of Philadelphia a championship. And right now, it does not look like that will be possible with Ben Simmons on the roster. So we will see what happens with that one. But NBA definitely back to its old soap opera ways.
Yep. Unfortunately, one thing I got to mention, NHL, fortunately, only drama taking places in overtimes and shootouts. 2 games happening there tonight, both on TNT. The Bruins and the Flyers play at 6:30 p.m., and the Blues and the Golden Knights play out west at 9 p.m. Mm-hmm. So you take your pick, NBA, NHL, MLB, NFL to come later.
High school football.
Yep, college football. You got a loaded weekend. Thank goodness we've got a day off on Friday and a half day Thursday, because we've got a lot of sports to watch and
I
cover.
need to do some homework.
Yeah, no kidding. But, yep, that's about it for episode number 10 here. Brendan, anything else before we sign off?
Well, thank you all for tuning in, not just through this podcast and through this year, but through all the years we've been covering Creighton Prep Sports. We do hope you all tune in for what may be the Prizeman-Reedy final broadcast of a football game. So please tune into that if you can. Please keep tuning into the podcast. We're not going to stop when high school football does. I think we're going to try and keep this going basically until we graduate.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe even past it, do a little monthly summer update as well. But It's always great to do this. It's always great to see how many people enjoy watching it or listening to it, I guess. So thank you all for that so much, and we will see you all on Friday night.
Yep, sums it up pretty well right there. Friday night, prep, Lincoln East, 7 p.m. Be there, be square. Watch us, I guess. Me and Brendan might be the last rodeo in a football game on CPTV, so be sure to check it out. And even if you're at the game, maybe just pull out your phone real quick and watch us for 5 seconds. That'd be nice. But
please.
Hey, or come visit us or something like that. But yep, looking forward to it.
Give us some food.
Yep, looking forward to it on Friday night after a complete day off school. We'll be ready to go, and hopefully you will be too. So that's about it for episode number 10. We'll be back next week. Have a great weekend, everybody. See you.